Hey Mitchell Gerber, how you doing?
I'm good, Glenn. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well.
It's good. It's
Um,
good to be on your show.
hey, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. I know we had a couple of missteps trying to connect and whatnot, so I
hmm
appreciate you being patient on it.
How's
Um,
your family, by the way? Everyone good? Everyone
Everything's
happy?
fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
very good.
good,
Thank you.
good. You're
Um,
welcome.
I I wanted to start this a little bit different because this is a much different conversation than what I normally have. And what Mitchell is going to be talking about is controversial. I guess that's probably the best word for it. And it's going to be something that's kind of difficult for a lot of people to wrap their heads around. So, with that being said, Mitchell is not a musician, but we're still going to talk about music at some point, right?
I love
Um,
music.
yeah, excellent, excellent. So, again, if things get a little bit weird, we can always be like, I'll say, "Hey, Mitchell, what's your favorite band?" And we can kind of like whatever. Um,
Absolutely.
with all that being said, Mitchell, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your background and what is it you're currently doing?
Wow. Well, Glenn, yeah, it's a quite of a heavy subject, folks. But again, thank you for having me on,
My pleasure.
because not many people have me on to discuss this, especially with the crazy controversialness, proven controversy
Hmm.
surrounding it. But I'm 41 years old. I started this human rights campaign, as you would like to call it, when I was 21 years old. I was
Hmm.
studying international business
Hmm.
at the University of Georgia. I'm an American citizen, South African born, American raised, currently living in Vietnam, carrying out a human rights mission, frontline 100 miles away from the Chinese border.
Hmm.
And the topic that really ignited me in 2001, I was very gun ho, making money. I was about to intern at a very prestigious law investment firm. My father put a lot of money into me. I was the president of the business this and accounting that and the international trade school group here. And I was doing a lot of things, but
Hmm.
I felt extremely stressed out. I felt anxious. I was very depressed. I was drinking a lot, smoking a lot. I just wanted a peace of mind. So I tried yoga and I liked yoga and I loved Tai Chi and martial arts. But cut a long story short, how I got into this was in 2001. I was 21 years old and I visited a beautiful festival of crafts and arts and music and culture at the University of Georgia in Athens, a very awesome, famous what do you call it? Town of music and
Hmm.
openness and REM, the famous
Right.
band REM, and other ones came out of there,
Hmm.
out of Athens.
And
Anyway, I was
PRQ
very
too.
exactly, and I was drawn, Glenn, to this incredibly beautiful ancient meditation and Chinese yoga type of practice, and that was being demonstrated by these Chinese people and Chinese elders and Chinese young people, and I was like, I'm very intrigued. So I went up to that. So I went up to the booth with my friend Molly, who was studying business with me at that time, and I tried these exercises, and immediately I felt my whole body just open up, and I was like
Hmm.
totally blissed out, felt very comfortable and relaxed. And I was like, I need more of this. So I went back to the table and I was like, guys, I feel so relieved after a matter of 5 minutes of practicing these beautiful, ancient, the best way I could describe it, organic and natural exercises.
Hmm.
And as I was just coming off this high of, just openness and rejuvenation and just comfort and ease, I looked to the right and I was like, ooh, what is that? And immediately, like all the bliss just like left my body, and I was quite shocked of what I was seeing. Stop the brutal persecution and human rights abuses of innocent Falun Gong practitioners. And I was like, Falun Gong, what is? And
Hmm.
I was explained and shared that this was a beautiful movement that was became the largest spiritual movement in China. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but why are they being persecuted like this? What's going on? So they explained to me that this is normal communist party or Chinese society, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, this is crazy, I have to look into it more. So finally I looked into it. I went home that night, I read all the books, I read all the controversy, and I was shocked, and I had to do something. Something inside me, Glenn,
Hmm.
was like, you know what, I got to do something. So here we are today,
So
20
okay,
years later.
what what is it that you found when you did your initial research? So, I mean, what made you act the way that you've acted for the last 19 years?
An initial reaction of hundreds and thousands of innocent prisoners of conscience in China being sent to state mandated hospitals, their organs cut out of their bodies while alive. It sounds so grotesque, like a Mad Max kind of movie, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and their organs then sold for massive amounts of profit since 2001.
Hmm.
And at the time, we didn't know this. We only got the confirmed reports, which we'll get into in a minute, and the evidence in 2006 by the investigators. But in 2001, we only knew that the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, that controls China to this day,
Hmm.
launched a outright brutal and unjustified campaign to round up hundreds and thousands of innocent people, house Christians, Tibetans, Uyghur Muslims, and the largest group of people called the Falun Gong, and then
Hmm.
just send them to state mandated hospitals, labor camps, re education centers, death camps to cut out their organs while alive and then sell them the most profitable organs in the world, making a multi-billion-dollar business to this day off them. So when I heard about this, I was absolutely shocked. And this is where I am today, clarifying, exposing, and putting my life on to reveal to the world.
Right. So that's an incredible claim, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I think myself and probably most of the people listening will think um, the detention camps. Yeah, totally. You know, I could totally see the CCP do that. Um, it's when we get into the organ harvesting, and actually there are two things. One is organ harvesting, and the other one is there seems to not really be a consensus as to whether Falun Gong is a kind of a non-organized, uh, almost hippie-like organization, right, focused on yoga and whatnot, or whether it is in itself a political party. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and also want to
Sure.
talk about the Epic Times because that's a little bit freaky to me. Um, so I guess the first question. Let's just talk about evidence, right? I mean, evidence in
Right.
regards to organ harvesting. So, just so people know, Mitchell actually shared some clips with me, and they are compelling, but they also, at least in my estimation, are kind of taken without context. So, without the full context of what's being said, I chose not to show them. But he's promised to find some full stuff that I can share later on. So, um, that being said, um, what is that evidence? What have you found?
That there's at least 52 pieces of evidence that confirms the allegations are true.
Okay.
We believe them that they are true. Not even believe, it's beyond a reasonable doubt now at this time and this point that this is going on, that the Chinese Communist Party, a reign of terror, which it is, that has killed over 100 million people, decimated 5,000 years of Chinese culture. This is not just something that I'm pulling out of a hat. This is absolute confirmed evidence by David Kilgore and David Mattis, the two esquires out of Canada.
Uh-huh.
David Mattis is a 35-year international human rights lawyer out of Winnipeg,
Hmm.
specializing in genocide law and international human rights.
Okay.
David Kilgore is the Crown Prosecutor and former Secretary of State of the Asian Affairs of the Canadian Parliament.
Hmm.
And these two gentlemen in 2006 confirmed at least 18 hard-hitting evidence points that this is going on. The evidence includes, and let me pull up, surging businesses, short waiting times, tourism, transplantation on demand, a state crime, top-down policy, a new source of organs, and independent investigations.
Hmm.
And these two gentlemen exposed this in 2006. And then another gentleman called, namely Ethan Gutman, who wrote The Slaughter, a 10-year investigation working and living basically with the Falun Gong and now the Uyghur Muslims who have been detained in up to 2 million in labor camps,
Hmm.
confirmed also another many more points of evidence. So up to 52 pieces of evidence
Hmm.
confirmed. Then you have the China Tribunal in 2018 unanimously confirmed that this was going on. The head chair, Sir Jeffrey Nice, who was the prosecutor of Slobodan Milosevic, the
Hmm.
Yugoslavian dictator who killed, God knows how many
Hmm.
for war crimes, he conducted the China Tribunal in 2018, unanimously confirmed. And then you have Matthew Robinson, an investigative journalist who wrote about the first hospital that increased their medical wards, their medical beds, and medical rooms, just
Hmm.
skyrocketing the Laogai system, which is the labor camp system, the hospital system, to prepare for this slaughter of people. So
Hmm.
there's absolutely no doubt that this is going on. This has all been confirmed. We have the reports, and I can share with your listeners at the
Hmm.
end where you can go and see and find and read upon this, and even watch the documentaries to
Hmm.
confirm that this is not just some kidney in the bathtub story, folks. This is not just, oh, well, we know about this from Southeast Asia. Trust me, I've been living in Southeast Asia for many years. I've been on this mission for 20 years, and I
Hmm.
actually was at a child trafficking court in London. I believe one of the videos I sent you, I think, was my whole entire briefing at a
Hmm.
child trafficking court in London with the investigators and Dr. Enver Tohti, who is the main campaigner of forced organ harvesting, a doctor who defected from communist China, who did a forced organ harvesting. He's a good friend of mine, and now he's in London as a bus driver,
Hmm.
exposing this with the two Davids, David Kilgore, David Mattis, and Ethan Gutman, as well as Miss World Canada 2015 and 16, I believe,
Hmm.
Anastasia Lin, who was barred from China participating in the Miss World in 2000, I believe, 18. They go around and expose this. But the United Nations, the World Health Organization, all turn their backs. Why? Because they are all colluding with the Chinese Communist Party. And the CCP has got incredible power over the media outlets, the governing bodies, like I said, the human rights organizations around the world. But evidence cannot be refuted. This is irrefutable evidence. So that's just some of the evidence that I can share with you today.
Okay. No, again, this is something that definitely needs to be looked into, right?
Exactly.
Uh, I I guess one of my major questions would be, um, why Falun Gong? I mean, why would they be
Yes.
targeted, right?
There are three reasons. First of all, the core principles of Falun Gong, if people don't know, it's an ancient Chinese discipline that skyrocketed to become the life force in popularity in China. Within 5,000 years, no other spiritual, holistic, or health and wellness practice became so popular, where one out of every 13, Glenn, Chinese national citizens,
Hmm.
from the highest ranking members of the Communist Party all the way down to the peasant and rural class of Communist China, were practicing every day. Millions of people, at least 10% of the population, growing annually because of the tremendous and profound health benefits and spiritual wellness principles behind it. And the core of Falun Gong, and it's a very attractive principle. They're very attractive principles: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, which are rooted in Chinese culture,
Hmm.
became the life force. But the reason being, as I've said, the popularity. That was the first reason. The size of its following made communist leaders very fearful of losing control of the people's hearts and minds, particularly the president at that time of the Chinese Communist Party, a military dictator. We call him the evil head of the Chinese Communist Party, Jiang Zemin. He was very hateful that he couldn't control this amount of people. And the number of people practicing Falun Gong at that time outnumbered the number of people in the Chinese Communist Party by 30 million people. So that was the major
Hmm.
reason.
Okay.
Anything under communist control. And I'm sure if people lived under communism, as I do.
Okay.
Okay, so not only did the Chinese Communist Party it was threatened, and the military dictator at that time was threatened by the immense size of the spiritual movement, growing and mushrooming into becoming the largest in all of China, at least 70 to 100 million people. That was the government's own figures. But because of the stark ideology contrast, where Falun Gong is a very peaceful movement, it's not
Hmm.
political, it's not some CIA-backed cult that has been demonized to be. They are not terrorists. There's no money involved. You're not forced to practice. You don't get ripped away from your family. That's what evil cults do that expand their evil influence. Falun Gong became a very organic, natural practice. So, and the ideology of these practices, very similar to Tibetan Buddhism, any religion, any upright school of thought, is independent, it's free, it's organic and natural, and it not preaches, but it cultivates and promotes truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, which stand in
Hmm.
stark ideology to the Chinese Communist Party killing nature. There's no other regime on the face of the earth that has killed more people, destroyed more
Hmm.
life, and decimated more culture than the Chinese Communist Party. And they considered Falun Gong a threat because of its large popularity, the largest, and the stark ideology contrast, where
Hmm.
Falun Gong is a peaceful natured practice, and the Communist Party is a killing cult, a very demonic, diabolical killing machine, where it will kill people just on demand, and that's what they've been doing with Falun Gong. And the third reason is because of the profound health benefits, Glenn. When Falun Gong was measured and investigated by the Chinese Communist Party and the medical associations surrounding it, they couldn't believe how people were just being healed. Ailments, illnesses, and injuries were vanishing. People were becoming healthy. The suicide rates were going down. Millions of dollars of healthcare costs were being reduced. People were feeling happy. The productivity rates were increasing in the factories. Quality of product was rising. So the overall health was increasing dramatically. And they took a look at the organs and the blood flow and the metabolic processes, and they were very shocked to find how the organs become really healthy.
Hmm.
So they did a very diabolical thing. They demonized Falun Gong as some cult to turn public opinion against it. Their propaganda machines were just running 24 hours, demonizing, just like the Jews in the Holocaust or other regimes that have demonized and genocidally try to wipe out innocent people. And did the worst thing ever. Started to send hundreds and thousands of innocent Falun Gong practitioners and others to state mandated hospitals and cut their organs out and sell their organs as the healthiest organs in the world, realizing and often knowing that this is what happens to the organs becoming really healthy. Because a healthy mind, a healthy body, and healthy organs. So this is what is going on today and still continuing to this day.
Right. I have a couple of questions for you, Mitchell. One is, uh, do you consider are you a Falun Gong member yourself, or is there
I'm
such a thing?
not a member, no, but I do practice Falun Gong. It's a
Hmm.
beautiful practice, and yeah, I've been practicing for since goodness since 2001. Yeah, it's
Okay.
lovely.
Okay. And the other one?
Originally from a Judeo-Christian family, which is fine, but
Uh-huh.
like Falun Gong doesn't interfere with that. But yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And then another question, just for just for clarity and transparency's sake.
Yes.
You've been doing this for 19 years. Um, how are you supporting yourself while you're doing this?
I teach little children, two, three,
Okay.
4, and 5 year olds. I volunteer
Uh-huh.
and I help out as well. And yeah, I don't, when I go on shows like this or for human rights, I
Hmm.
leave no name and I seek no reward, only just out of
Right.
kindness. But the little money that I do make, yeah, I teach children right now,
Okay.
and 2, 3, 4, and 5 year olds. And yeah,
Okay. I mean, you obviously see why I would ask that question, right?
sure,
Because
sure.
it's again in the United States we have fairly limited information about exactly what Falun Gong is, right? Um, and it seems to fall on one or two sides. It's either um, it's a completely, peaceful, not even organization, sort of like, Antifa, right? Like it's an organization, but it's not you know, a, a, a hierarchical organization, right?
Right, right. Very
Then
loose.
the other side is that it's a propaganda arm of I've heard a bunch of just random crazy shit, right? I mean, like
No.
there's even some that I've heard, that say that it's actually part of the CCP that is being used to.
Part of the
I don't know.
Mossad and the CIA and the FBI. Yep,
I
yep.
mean, yeah,
I
there's
know.
all sorts of crazy things around that. Um,
Sure,
the
sure.
not knowing a huge amount about it in general, though, one thing that does concern me, and I brought this up, I think right before we went on the air, um, is the epic times. That concerns me greatly, and the
Mm,
reason it concerns me is that if you have an organization that supposedly is apolitical, that is, you know, um, not quite religious, but I mean, for lowercase r, it is a religious organization, right? Just like anything that is, focused on mental health and spirituality, right? Um, the fact that the Epic Times is extraordinarily politically charged, right? Um, at least from my take on it, and I'm happy to hear your take on it as well. But to me, it tends to read somewhere between like Fox News and Weekly World News, right? Um, and again, that's just my take. I want to hear your take on it, obviously. But that in itself is a little bit concerning to me, right?
well, I started with the Epoch Times. They started in Atlanta in about 2003. I was delivering newspapers for them.
Hmm.
The reason why they established now, I'm political atheist. I don't care about whether you support this person or this person, or I have, politics to me is just exposing evil and discerning what is right and what is wrong, the
Hmm.
ability. And that is the responsibility of every human being in this world. And I think that the reason why you had me on is because something ignited inside or in your mind and inside you. I'm not trying to, everyone has their own world, but it was a very fascinating, controversial topic because this is a new form of evil that is happening in China. So at that time, the brutal persecution of Falun Gong was so immense and so large, and the propaganda against it was weaponized to the point that the Chinese Communist Party literally declared war on Falun Gong. Even today, there is a Gestapo type agency that sits on top of the Chinese Communist Party that controls all levels of economic, social, and political policies, right?
Hmm.
That have completely been that has been created for one purpose and one purpose only. 1 month before the complete outlaw and ban of Falun Gong, which is called the 610 Office. So we had this massive propaganda, massive machine that was demonizing and slandering and attacking Falun Gong as some evil-based cult, terrorist group that have tried to take over the Chinese government, which is absolute garbage. It's absolute nonsense, and it's completely been debunked. There's no evidence that Falun Gong is a cult. There's no evidence that it's a CIA-backed operation, and there's absolutely no evidence that it's a CIA-backed cult.
Right.
Um, and the reason why the Epoch Times, like Sound of Hope, Shen Yun Performing Arts, which are NTD, New Tang Dynasty Television, which is the largest Chinese news television in the world now,
Hmm.
was created is because we wanted to counter the outright deluge of propaganda demonizing Falun Gong and
Hmm.
covering up this monstrosity of genocide that still is yet to be exposed. So I take my hat off to these organizations. Call them what they do. Endorse Trump. They
Hmm.
do endorse very conservative values. That's their responsibility. This has been evolving for a long time, but I do take my hat off to them for exposing the eye-opening accounts of the Communist Party, revealing what they've been doing, and they have been the only ones, basically, one of the very few that have had the balls, the courage, and the backbone to do so. So, in that regard and in that context, I take my hat off.
Hmm.
People who are listening to this might be very liberal, might be very, do not agree with the conservative values, and that's okay. We are in a free country, and we are right to have free press. Yet
Hmm.
we have to see the intention and the motive behind the creation of these entities or these media outlets. What is their intent? To lie, to cheat, to steal, to weaponize media? No.
Hmm.
As far as I've seen, working with them for so long, it is a besides the politics in terms of left or right, the Epoch Times, like Shenyun Divine Performing Arts, like NTD TV, Sound of Hope, and others, have banded together, created their platforms in order to expose the Chinese Communist Party and the persecution of not only the Falun Gong but others in this world, and revealing the CCP how evil its nature is. So in those regards, go at it. Good, I take my hat off to them.
Okay. So I actually have a quick question that hopefully you can answer. I started to look it up and I lost track of time. Um, is is the Epoch Time? Is it Epoch Times? Is it run by a diaspora from China, or or an American? Like who actually operates that news agency?
It was all of this was created by Falun Gong practitioners.
Okay.
The Epoch Times was the English version of the largest democratic Chinese newspaper, Dachuan, that was created again to counter the outright deluge of propaganda coming out of China,
Okay.
demonizing Falun Gong, demonizing Tibet, demonizing and genocidally, brutally persecuting Uyghur Muslims and any dissident and prisoner of conscience and political prisoner in China. So through that operation, and I was there from the beginning, it
Hmm.
metamorphosized into the largest independent newspaper in the world, the Epoch Times, which has
Hmm.
now become really popular. And whether you're liberal, whether you're conservative, you can't deny when you look at the paper, regardless of, like I said, the politics of the left and the right, it really gives you an eye-opening account. And no other newspaper has done this. And they've been learning from the Epoch Times about China, the espionage, the spy networks, the slaughtering, the decimation of its culture, the killing of animals, the polluting of its rivers, and I
Right.
mean, just exposing this monstrosity, this demonic regime, the Chinese Communist Party. So um, I guess I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Again, I have
Or
concerns about it, right? And
right, I can understand. I can
they're
see
just
why.
concerns, you know. It would, and I would, to be honest, I'd have the same issue if Antifa created a newspaper, right? I mean, it's
Well,
you would always have to
let me
look at it from the
yes.
political standpoint and
Well,
an
let me share
agenda.
with you. Well, Antifa is a very violent and I mean, yes, they're fighting anti-fascists, but they're acting like the actual fascists, actual Nazi rear guards, and I don't. I mean, you cannot compare Antifa with Falun
Well,
Gong.
okay,
Falun Gong have been
I've got
slaughtered.
two things to say about it. Number one, wow, I can't believe you just said that. But two, um, that I wasn't comparing them. I was comparing as quote non-hierarchical sort of organizations. That was all. I wasn't saying
I
they're in
see.
any way similar,
Okay.
other than
Okay.
that.
Fair
Um,
enough.
and I'm gonna walk away from the Antifa stuff just because, again, not a topic I want to get into right now.
Okay.
Um, I I'd like to hear a couple more things. First of all, I'd like to talk a little more about evidence and kind of drill into that just a little bit. Okay.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then I want us to take a little break and talk about some fucking music, right? Just kind of like take a little break from everything, so I can process a few things and whatnot.
Go ahead.
I did see, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that there was a definite increase in organ transplant operations in China from 2006 to 2014, I think, is whatever the numbers or years were. And it was significant. It was like 300% increase or something like that, maybe even more than that. Um, and I see where that could instantly get and I'm not saying this in a pejorative sort of way, conspiracy like thought. Like, of course it would. Um, if a hospital in the United States, for example, suddenly went from 100 transplants a year to 3,000, then I would be like, okay, well, there's something going on there, right? So I see where that would be. Data like that would definitely start stirring those suspicions that there's something was happening. Um, has there been any response whatsoever from within China itself? Not necessarily the China, the Communist Party, but there is, at least in theory, a couple of parties within China. Um, has anyone within China actually spoken out and or um, delivered evidence?
There's no parties in China. Like I said, the Chinese Communist Party controls everything, wiped out everything. There's no democracy in China, let alone freedom. Taiwan, there are four countries that actually have banned forced organ harvesting. If anything, the people are revolting against the CCP, but the CCP itself has destroyed any kind of resistance or independence against it. So there's no, all the evidence that is coming out of China is grassroots, underground, Falun Gong petitioners, Uyghur Muslims
Hmm.
standing up against this monstrosity, risking their lives on the front lines, and great, courageous people that have allowed the world, just like in Iran,
Hmm.
that have broken through the firewall and have uploaded all the information and all the numbers and even the prisons. And that's why we know exactly where everything is and how detailed things are. And that's why Ethan Gutman and David Kilgore making investigation after investigation, calling the labor camps, calling the hospitals, talking to the guards, talking to the medical doctors who are performing surgeries and
Hmm.
saying, "Oh, no problem. We have a plethora of fresh organs from Falun Gong practitioners. They're the best, like lobsters out of a tank." Um,
Hmm.
so the investigators have put together massive information from the courageous people out of China, but there's no independent bodies in China that can actually do these investigations. They have been just completely shut down and kicked out, and everyone arrested. Because in China, it's not a normal society like Vietnam, not a normal society. That you are controlled by communist China. That's why if anyone has lived under communism, they would tell you. But in America, you don't have that. You still have the freedom of speech. You can say what you want. Um, but yeah, nothing in China. Outside of China, absolutely. That's why the Epoch Times, NTD-TV, thank God, was formed. They're not weaponized media, but they are media that expose particularly the truth behind what's going on in China, and that's why I take my hat off to them.
Hmm.
Everyone else, can believe what they want to believe in, but um, there's something I want to read to you, and then we can talk about music for sure because it's
Okay,
extremely
excellent,
heavy. Like I
excellent.
said,
Actually, I have one question before you do that.
sure, sure.
Are you affiliated with? See, I say Epic because maybe it's just the accent I have, but um, are you affiliated with the Epic Times in any way?
Not now, no. I
Okay, but
was
you
the
were
only
at
thing
some
I
point.
I was, yes, and I'm grateful to
Okay.
have been, yes, and I've done like I was the first one on the scene, one of the first in
Hmm.
Atlanta, Georgia, and then it moved into New York, and I was doing tremendously well. But and receiving, by the way, a lot of people, a lot of support on the left,
Hmm.
because I think people are starting to realize, as hopefully you will, Glenn, that it's not a weaponized machine or arm piece. And a lot of people have said this to Trump and to Trump's army, or to the conservative side.
Hmm.
But when you divulge into it and you really look at the opinion pieces and the international pieces, particularly China, it's quite amazing. But again, it's just growing. But I'm not affiliated, not at this moment, no.
Okay.
But I highly support them. Highly will always recommend the newspaper for sure, because I've always worked with them and I'm grateful from the ground up supporting them. Yet at this moment in time, I'm not working with them and for them at all. I'm
Okay.
just an independent investigator or activist, basically on the front lines, exposing this evil.
Okay. That's really important to know. Okay. So
Sure.
go
I'll
ahead
give
and
it to you
read what you're
straight.
going to
Yeah.
read.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this was just one of the interviews that was conducted by Ethan Gutman, who is a nominee of the Nobel Peace Prize. Um, he did the investigation, 10 years with Falun Gong, and he was interviewed by investigators, many reporters, but about his book, The Slaughter. And
Hmm.
he was asked, well, what do you say to those people who still doubt that organ harvesting has occurred or is occurring on a large scale in China, especially through the use of Falun Gong practitioners? He says, well, The Slaughter, my book, has been out for a year. That's plenty of time for serious reviewers to question my conclusions. I can't think of no one who has. Even the South China Morning Post, which obviously had to give a critical review given their financial relationship with the mainland, didn't dare. And I stand by every footnote, every interview. I don't begrudge anyone the right to doubt. As I say in my book, these are serious allegations, toxic allegations, but no one has the right to dismiss the allegations without actually reading the corpus of work that has been published. My book, The Slaughter, Bloody Harvest and State Organs by David Kilgore and David Mattis, my colleagues, not to mention all the investigative reports that have been authored by the World Organization to investigate the persecution of Falun Gong, Doctors Against Forced Organ Harvesting, and the China Tribunal. This investigation started in 2006, yet the volume of investigative work is only increasing. You want to comment? Hit the books. If someone is too lazy to read about the subject or just doesn't care enough about Chinese atrocities to bother, perhaps they should keep silent. So that's what I just wanted to share with you. But this is no doubt that this is going on. And
Um,
all you need is a police signature, basically, in
Wait,
China.
say that one
No,
more time.
in China, all you need is a police signature. There's no due process of law. It's just a police signature is all you need to activate the transplantation murder. Pick a lobster out of the tank as if you just want to get an organ on a specified date, reducing the waiting times of 4 to 8 years of kidneys, livers, and heart transplants to a matter of weeks, a matter of now days, and they're trying to make it a matter of hours. This is fueling a multi-billion-dollar profiteering business, and this has all been confirmed. So the problem with people, Glenn, is that there's too much money involved, and the United Nations has been run by the Chinese Communist Party. There's no hidden agenda about that. They run 4 specialized units, and the World Health Organization also colluding with the Chinese Communist Party. Only 4 countries, Israel, Taiwan, Spain, and Italy, have signed into law to ban organ harvesting from China after realizing what's going on. So it's very disappointing. The United States and Canada haven't banned anything yet, but hopefully very soon.
Right. So the closest that I can think of that is something that I know happens with 100% certainty is in India, right? So I know for a fact, and this has been documented even by the Indian government that so it's not performed by the Indian government, but where less wealthy villagers, will sell, a kidney for, $1,500 that's then sold for 30 grand to a obese American, right, who goes to get the surgery. So the concept of um, the less fortunate selling the organs, which I realize is a different issue than what we're talking about right now, but there is definite premise for that, and there is a definite um, it happens, right? Like that's it's and we know it happens because people who have done it have talked about it. Um, my question, sorry, there was a question in there. My question is, what sort of evidence is there that it's not just a poor Chinese farmers who are selling their organs versus the wholesale slaughter by the CCP?
Well, like I said, as I've been sharing with you, the 52 piece of confirmed evidence since 2006 by David Kilgore, David Mattis, the
Hmm.
Kilgore Mattis report, which was released, and it's a free document and report,
Hmm.
and you can easily access it at endtransplantabuse.org or
Hmm.
dafoh.org. This, like I told you, this is not some kidney in the bathtub. There is no other regime on the face of the earth, and this has been proven. This is not some kind of conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact. The reason why it's conspiracy is because people think it's so hard to believe that this is going on, and it's been covered up so intentionally
Hmm.
as well. But there's no other regime on the face of the earth, Glenn, that has harvested their own citizens' organs using state-sanctioned procedures, high-ranking officials, the largest amount of people and resources, and the Chinese military to run over 240 re-education and labor camps in China, state-mandated hospitals, over 1,800, turning their doctors into murderers and cutting out the organs while alive. Now, we have confirmed reports from doctors, military personnel, secret agents, spies that have defected, even prison guards that have shown and have bared witness, direct material witnesses, that they've bared witness to at least 5 to 10,000 Falun Gong practitioners being shackled, transported in concealed cars to state mandated hospitals, and the doctors just cutting out their organs. So and I pulled up for you. I wanted to share with you. Let me see. I've got so much information here. But the yeah, from October 19th to December 2nd, 2018, the World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong. And these are independent bodies, by the way. This is not Falun Gong propaganda, as people would think, oh, well, this is the strong arm of Falun Gong. This is independent reports. David Kilgore, David Macktis, Ethan Gutman, InTransplantAbuse.org, the World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong.
Hmm.
These are run by rabbis, ministers, people, independent reporters, independent investigators. The vice president of the European Parliament, Edward McMillan-Scott. These are not
Hmm.
Falun Gong practitioners at all. But the investigation results reveal again that the CCP is still conducting live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners. There were 17 investigations, telephone investigations, and the individuals investigated are all presidents or doctors of top and directors of top level organ transplant hospitals in China. Many are
Hmm.
responsible for state level projects in the field of organ transplantation, as well as national and provincial level technical experts. So there's absolutely no doubt. The evidence has been confirmed. So this is not some let's just get this really straight. This is not a kidney in the bathtub story. This
Right.
is legal, state sanctioned, kill to order on a specified date, taking hundreds and thousands of their own citizens, Uyghur Muslims, House Christians, Tibetans. Falun Gong is the largest donor pool because it
Hmm.
became the largest spiritual movement in China. 95% of the organs are coming from China, from Falun Gong, that have been killed for their organs. And this has been absolutely confirmed. Yet still, the governing bodies are remaining silent. And when the investigators go to the United Nations, which is run by the Chinese Communist Party,
Hmm.
same as the World Health Organization, we get rejected. Why? Because there's too much money involved. Speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil. And history repeats itself. But this is absolutely no doubt about it. This is not conspiracy theory, Glenn. This is confirmed conspiracy fact
Okay.
beyond a reasonable doubt.
So here's what we're gonna do, Mitchell. Um,
Yes,
I still remain incredulous, but
that's fine.
I want to dig into shit, like, and if you can send a link to that paper, I think that would be the most important thing. And I'll
Sure,
make sure to include it in the description, for the video, along with some other information and whatnot.
sure.
And with that, um, when I said we were going to go about an hour, it's going to be a little bit under an hour. Just because I fucked up and I stopped the recording. So I got a couple of just fun questions for you. Okay, at the very end.
A pleasure. Let's do it.
One, I want to talk about music just a little bit, just because. Let's end this on a light note, and then I'll give you a chance to do a closing statement. How's that? Sound good?
Cool.
All right.
Sounds good. Do you
So
want me? Do you want me to? Do you want me to give you the links for your listeners right now, or at the end?
no, no. Don't give them to them at all. I'll put them in the description for the video so they can click through. Right? It's
Sounds good.
just easier
Great.
that way.
Okay.
Um, what's your favorite band?
Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Really? Well, you saw that
Love
Bunny
Bob
Whaler
Marley.
died today. Did you see that?
No, Bunny Wailer,
Yeah, he
man,
died
rest in
today.
peace.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
He was actually younger than I thought. I think he was 70, either 73 or 78. I can't remember.
what a legend. Yeah,
Yeah,
original
yeah,
Wailer. I was actually in California. I lived there for about 5 years, and I saw every one of Bob's kids. And one day he was Family Man Barrett, the great Family Man Barrett, was there, and I had to get. I went backstage, and I was with him, and just you know, amazing. That man moved the world, moved the
yeah.
world.
Um, yeah, I'm not a reggae fan, but I do respect it, right? It's just one of
Mm.
those things that it's
It's
like Led
heartful
Zeppelin,
music.
right? I can't stand Led Zeppelin, but everyone
You
around me
can.
loves them, and I understand why they love them. I just personally can't stand them.
I love him too.
Yeah.
I
I
love. Why
mean,
don't
but
you love him? Why don't you like him?
I think it's primarily the lyrics. I think, and not all of the
Mm.
songs, but um, I got turned off to be honest when Robert Planton is like baby 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 like hundreds of times throughout a song, right? I'm just like just not my
You,
style, I
you
mean,
know.
and it's funny. I'm a huge heavy metal fan, right? So I know there's
Mm.
a lineage. I don't know. I can't stand them, just and I take gruff for it all the time, but I'm okay with that. I'm a music
What
snob.
what is your what is your favorite band? What really makes you feel alive when you hear
I
them?
kind of go back and forth, but in general, the Ramones, I would say. I like things
Okay,
raw,
they've been
and
around for a long time.
yeah, well, they're all dead now,
I know.
unfortunately. Um, I'm actually trying to get one of their producers on. Um,
That's
he's
great.
still kicking, but he's about it. Um, I
Mm.
like it because it's simple, right? It's very simple. Um, Most of the lyrics are not, they're mindless. But there's also that lineage from like the '60s girls group, like the Ronettes and the Supremes and whatnot. And I like it a lot. In fact, I
Sure.
would love to get Ronnie Spector on the show. Like that's like one of my
You,
dreams is to talk to
you,
her.
you know that
You
they
know,
don't make them like they used to.
no, they don't. They don't. And
They don't
she's
make them like
still
they used to.
beautiful. Absolutely
Mm.
beautiful. Um,
Mm.
let's do one more thing here, and this is something that I've started doing with everyone as I'm wrapping things up. What is one thing that nobody would know about you that you would like to talk about? What is one like surprising thing about you that somebody would want to they'd be very surprised to hear.
What is one thing?
Nobody
I'm
likes
pretty
this
much,
question, by the way.
yeah, I like it. I think it's a great question. Um, hmm, I'm pretty much an open book.
Hmm?
Pretty much an open book. What's one thing that they don't know about me? Um, I'm not sure. I can.
Well, how about
I'm such an open book.
how about this? Okay, so you went from you said you were an investment banker, right? Or were about to be an investment banker?
Yeah, I was
Or,
going to go into all that. Yeah,
yeah. Um, Believe it or
amazing
not,
how. Yeah, share with me.
I actually spent time as a venture capitalist. So, um,
Interesting.
yeah, a totally past life. Back when I pretended I could put on a suit and all that sort of shit. Um, it didn't last very long, you know.
I like those. I like the numbers and everything, but yeah, it's amazing how life will just throw you a curveball out of nothing. You
Right,
know, in a second, your life can change, and
right,
it's. I think the responsibility of every human being to make their own path. But yeah, for
right.
me, something that people don't know about. I'm a, I'm a very honestly, people think because I'm very out there, I'm very open, and I'm very I love talking to people. I'm a very private person. I'm actually a
Hmm.
loner.
Oh
I'm a
yeah.
loner. That's what I am.
Well,
I'm a very yeah.
that's
At the end
easy
of
to
the day,
do being an expat in Southeast Asia, right? It can
mm,
also be
sure.
dangerous. I've seen people, I mean, basically lose their fucking minds, you know? Um,
You got to hold it together. You got to hold the line.
yeah, you do. You do. A good buddy of mine just actually opened a bar in, I want to say it's Hamba, but I'm not, I can't remember for sure.
Where?
And Vietnam, Vietnam, and
Oh,
I
Vietnam.
forget, yeah, I forget
Mm,
exactly the name of the city. I think it's Hamba, but I'm not positive. Um,
mm, interesting.
but he kind of decided to go to Vietnam on a whim, and he was going to go for 6 months to teach English. And I think he's been there 3 years now, and I think he bought a house and bought a bar and whatnot. So like
Mm,
he's all
interesting.
in, right? He's going to stay for a while. Um,
See, people don't know about me actually. I was the first in my family to be an American citizen, and I've been on this pretty much spiritual crusade, or physical crusade, whatever you want to call it, or for the last 21 years old, 21 years of my life. And yeah, I came to Vietnam, not to teach or not to open up anything, but to basically be with the Vietnamese that are on the front lines here, exposing the Red Dragon and what they've been doing. So, in life, people make their own choices and make their own path. And I'm just very grateful to come on your show, Glenn, because not many people will allow me on the show because of uh, uh, the heavy weightedness of this topic and the dangers associated with. Because I know you say you're not concerned about the CCP to hacking you. Yet, there's a lot of people that are in danger, and I don't care whether my life's in danger or not, whether I live or die. I don't care. Yet it's the most important is to follow my heart and do the right thing,
mhm,
whether I know this, whether I know that, whether because politics at the end of the day, when you're on the front lines, when it's a do or die situation, it's out the window. You can talk to a lot of military people or ex-Navy SEALs or ex-Special Forces, and they'll tell you in a day things can change in a second, things can change in a moment. So
mhm,
whatever whatever you are as a human being, you have to live that to the fullest every day and know that things can change for the better. That when things reach an extreme, everything's bound to turn around. Everything's cyclical. You're a venture capitalist, so everything's cyclical. Like the
mhm.
markets, like life. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, but you just keep going. And I think Rocky Balboa said it best, which I
Right, I
love.
love it.
Rocky, I love Rocky. Yeah,
Yeah,
he says no matter how much you get beaten down, all you gotta do is just keep going up and moving forward. Get up and keep moving forward, and that's how winning is done. We don't know where, we don't know how it's going to happen the next day,
right.
but at least we try. We do our best. So yeah, Glenn.
I like that, man. And that's probably a good time to kind of stop this on a quote like that.
Well,
Um,
and I want to share something with you, if I may. Sorry to cut you up.
sure, of
I
course.
love the fact that you and me, we might have very different views on certain things, and
Hmm.
we might not agree. But what the beauty of our conversation and to get and our get together today is that we can coexist. We can talk. We can share, and this is what our world needs.
Hmm.
This is what our world needs, and I'm just very grateful that we can come together with a an equal footing. You know
Hmm.
that both our hearts give a shit about what's going on in
Right.
China. We care about people, regardless of whether we are left or we are right, or whether we believe in this or you support this person, or in terms of a political context. This is a
Right.
humanitarian crisis, and I'm just grateful that you have had the heart and you've shown the heart to at least, uh, explore this with me today. And people can
Yeah.
think what they want, but I'm very happy to be on your show to talk to you about this and expose this at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of those people that I'll listen to anything, and this is
That's
not a call
cool.
for us
That's
to talk
cool.
about politics, but for example, I watched every single speech that Donald Trump did, like every single one. And people would
Mm,
ask me, like, how can you listen to that? And I said, well, I mean, it's to be honest, it's not easy, but um, my belief is, you know, um, you always want to know, well, in that case, your enemy, right? Better than the enemy's followers know them, right?
mm,
So it's basically like a Machiavellian sort of thing. Um, and I'm not saying that I'm viewing what you said like I view Donald Trump. I mean, I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that at least letting people talk about stuff, I think is important. And having debates is important.
sure.
as long as you're not just giving a platform to somebody to spew propaganda, right?
Sure,
So
you have to have facts.
yeah, I think that's really important. And I'm gonna take some heat from this, and that's okay. Fuck them. Honestly, I'm almost 50. Like I don't really give a fuck anymore. So if people get pissed off at me, then okay, that's fine.
But why would they get pissed off at you? Well, I mean, we've
Uh,
discussed something very important
I'd
here.
rather really
Eh,
not get into it.
oh, I
Um,
see. Okay,
it just has
okay.
to do with there are certain narratives that people like to follow, and when you step outside of those narratives, people get upset, right? And
Mm.
I actually even hesitate to use the word narrative because that's become politicized as well. Um,
Well,
whereas really all it is a description of what we're talking about. It is a narrative, right? I mean, we all have our narratives, right?
right, right.
So,
Well, the thing, if I may, before we end, people need to get offended about this, need to be upset, need to
mm,
feel a certain level of uncomfortableness because this is such a horrific crime against humanity. And imagine it was your families or your friends or your colleagues that were just shipped off in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day to death camps and state mandated hospitals, and your organs were cut out of your bodies. Then what would happen? People love to deny things and reject things and just completely be oblivious to things when it doesn't happen to them. But when it
mhm,
happens to them, then what? There's a saying from I think from a Holocaust survivor, that when I think it was or someone that when they came for me, when they came for my and I'm paraphrasing, when they came for my neighbors, I didn't speak out. When they
mhm,
came for my colleagues, I didn't speak out. When they came for the Jews or the Muslims or this or that, I didn't speak out. But when they came to me, for me, no one was there to speak out for me. So
right.
I just think covering this topic today, it is universal, whether you're a Republican, Trump supporter, non-Trump supporter, Antifa, atheist, Buddhist, white or black, transgender. I don't care who you are.
Mhm,
Human life is human life, and we all
right.
bleed the same blood and we breathe the same air. So
Right.
again, I'm just grateful to have that to be on your show to talk about this particular situation with Falun Gong and the persecution against it.
Yeah, and I appreciate being on. I'm gonna wrap this up
Yeah,
right now. I'm gonna
cool.
stop the recording. Just stay on Zoom for a minute, and we'll do a little follow up and go from there.
Okay.
Anyway, with that,
Thanks,
Mitchell, hey, thank you so much for your time, man. All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks, folks. Thanks
Cheers.
for
Bye
listening.
now.